Hello again. It's Paul with New Jersey Recovery and Wellness. Thank you for staying with us as we continue to commemorate National Recovery Month. Each and every day, we're talking about how to support a person in your life who you know and love, who has a substance use disorder or is in early recovery. Thank you for checking out day 24 of our 30-part series. Get organized. It's hard to get anywhere if we don't know where we're going or what we're doing. Sometimes, for those who have substance use disorders or are in early recovery, it can feel overwhelming. It can feel like a mess. When we don't know what to do first, unless you're particularly resilient, it can be easy to find ourselves procrastinating, avoiding, or even giving up on trying to move forward. Everyone needs a little help sometimes. How do you support a person in your life who has a substance use disorder or in early recovery? Help them get organized. Although this may sound like a simple concept, it is by no means an easy undertaking. So we're going to break down this concept into a few different components. We're going to take a look at how to organize your mind, your day, as well as your space. We'll start with organizing your mind, and the most common practice for this is meditation or mindful meditation. This can be challenging for anyone who isn't familiar with the practice, or even more so for those who have mental health conditions, including substance use disorders. However difficult it may be in the beginning, it does get better and easier over time, and the rewards are plentiful. There are many ways to meditate. Too many to review in this video, so we're just going to identify a couple of the staples that anyone can benefit from by incorporating into their day. I first want to take a few minutes to talk about breath work. When we're able to regulate and control our breathing, we are able to shift a lot of the mental states that we have, including depression, anxiety, agitation, as well as craving. By getting into our breath work, we are hitting the reset on our mind, helping it to organize a little bit better. There are many different strategies for breath work. I'm only going to talk about two particular ones today. The first is a very common practice in a therapeutic space called square breathing. The reason why they call it square breathing is the idea that each breath has four walls to it, a square. So we have the inhale, holding it, the exhale, and resting. These are the four walls of the square. A person may want to start off doing 4 or 5 seconds for each side of the wall. So inhaling for 4, holding for 4, exhaling for 4, and resting for 4. You're going to want to practice this for at least 3 minutes. Ideally, you'd have a little bit more time to do this, but we can start small. Try a square breath for 4 or 5 seconds for 3 to 5 minutes. Encourage your loved ones to do the same. Another common practice for breath work is doing 8 of 8. What does this mean? So for 8 minutes long, definitely a little bit longer than square breathing, we want to be having 8-second breaths. So breathing in for 8 seconds and exhaling for 8 seconds. One breath ends up being 16 seconds. When we're doing this for 8 minutes at a time, we are putting a hard reset onto our mind. It is very, very difficult, if not impossible, for stress and relaxation to exist in the same space. When we are having a difficult time organizing our mind, it's typically because we're stressed out for some reason or another. When we hit a hard reset on our brain by forcing ourselves to dive into breath work, we are hitting that reset button. Next, you might want to practice checking in with some grounding skills. And if your loved one with a substance use disorder has ever been in treatment before, they may have been exposed to this in some capacity. So when we are grounding, we are either sitting, standing, or laying in a comfortable position and giving our mind a rest by dipping into our body. The way that we dip into our body is by checking in with our five senses: our sense of sight, sense of hearing, our sense of touch, our sense of smell, and our sense of taste. When we're doing grounding rounds, we are shifting focus from one sense to another by simply focusing one sense on one or two items around us. So if we are checking in with our sense of sight, I'm going to go into a quiet, calming environment, ideally, and just focus on two things within my line of sight and just take them in. You're going to want to do this for at least 20 to 30 seconds. When you're focusing on items in your environment, you may find your mind shifting to other things, other thoughts that come up. This is okay. We want to gently bring our attention back into our breathing and back into what we're trying to focus on. Two things in our environment, focusing on our sight. After that 20 to 30 seconds, we're going to shift into the sense of touch. Without needing to do anything, without needing to move, we can just shift into our bodily sensations and feel what's going on around you. Potentially, it's going to be a sensation of your foot inside of your shoe or sock, touching the ground, feeling that sensation. If you were sitting or in a laying position, you may also want to check into the sensation of your body being in contact with whatever you might be sitting or laying on. After 20 to 30 seconds of this exercise, you would shift again to the next sense, and to the next sense, and to the next. After going through and checking in with all of your senses for 20 to 30 seconds apiece, you're going to want to then take a little extra time to focus on one item in all of your senses. Being able to see something while focusing on something that you feel, while focusing on something that you hear, while focusing on something that you smell, while focusing on something that you taste, something that's within your mouth. In this way, we're integrating our senses. And if we're doing this activity within the time frames that I've just suggested, 20 to 30 seconds, this entire exercise only takes between 2 to 3 minutes. It's not a massive undertaking. Finally, we can organize our mind by participating in an activity called thought journaling. The idea here is pretty simple. We're just going to sit down with a pen or pencil and a piece of paper or a pad and just sit. Allow your thoughts to come up without trying to focus your thoughts on anything in particular. Just be. When your thoughts come up, jot a little note as to what the thought is, and then let it be. When the next thought comes up, jot that one down too. If you're going to set aside a few minutes to do this particular exercise, afterward, you can reflect on the thoughts that you have. Maybe you can pick up some themes. Maybe the thoughts are anxious in nature. Maybe they're scattered. Maybe they're really sad. Maybe you're hopeful. Again, there's no judgment here. There's no right or wrong. The point of this exercise is to just allow your mind to do what it does and think and allow the thoughts to go through you. This helps to mentally organize by gaining a little bit more clarity on where your focus is right now. Maybe your focus is lined up with the direction that you're planning to go in. Maybe your focus is a little bit scattered or possibly detracting from the focus that you're hoping to move forward in. By taking time to participate in these activities, we're able to calm and soothe the mind so that we can be more purposeful in our intentions moving forward. When we start to integrate a mindful practice into our days, the idea is to start small. Does not have to be a massive undertaking. Think about starting with about 10 minutes a day. And if that sounds a little bit overwhelming, cut it in half. Try to commit to 5 minutes in a day. And of course, there are those who stick with this type of practice and end up setting aside much more time because they see the benefits of having an organized mind. Practice this activity with your loved one who has a substance use disorder. You both can benefit. Next, we're going to take a look at organizing time. Set yourself and your loved one in front of a calendar. You're going to want to have it so that you can look at an overall week as well as an overall month. On the monthly calendar, mark any important events that don't routinely occur. These can be appointments with a doctor, a therapist, or other standalone appointments, local or community events that you're definitely planning on attending, or things that you might just be interested in checking out. Note down birthdays, other special occasions, and fun events that are coming up, something to look forward to that you may want to celebrate. After we've taken a look at a monthly calendar, we're going to flip to the weekly calendar. We're going to want to collaborate with our loved ones to figure out how to block time within their day-to-day lives. First things first, let's peg down an ideal sleep schedule, which should fall somewhere between 7 to 9 hours each day, typically at night. Some individuals may struggle with sleep, and that's okay. Still, we're going to allocate the recommended time frame for sleep, with the eventual goal of being able to get there. After blocking aside the ideal sleep schedule, some people may already have their days structured with work or a school schedule or some other routine engagements. You're going to want to have this filled to somewhere about 50 hours a week. And keep in mind, for individuals who are working or attending school, commute time to and from these locations are going to be included in this time block. Now, people with substance use disorders or in early recovery may not have so much structured time, which can be detrimental in the long run. To help organize the brain, increasing structure is key. When structure is lacking, you can always find fun or purposeful ways to fill it in. Talk about it with your loved one. They might find it purposeful to seek out volunteer or service opportunities. Or of course, for someone that doesn't have the structure of work or school, you may want to dedicate some blocks of time to conduct a job search, network with peers, or set aside time for interviewing. After blocking off time for sleep and routine engagements, you then have 1/3 of your weekly time to allocate towards joy and purposeful living. This is where we start to organize to connect with your prioritized values, which is something that we talked about earlier in this series. Perhaps your loved one is looking to enhance time with friends, get in some routine exercise, or connect with other passions in their life that they feel may be lacking. Cooking, painting, or other artistic pursuits, or coaching, maybe a recreational league. Now that we have a calendar and now that we can see what we're working with, your loved one can find ways to dedicate time to things that matter most to them. Finally, it does us a world of good to take some time to organize our space. This activity in and of itself may need a block of time to accomplish, depending on the person. Think about your loved one's living space and remember the adage, messy bed, messy head. What this is basically saying is if our environment is disorganized, our minds are also likely to be disorganized. When we're operating in a disorganized or chaotic space, we take in that energy. When they're ready, take some time with your loved one, again, with them, not for them, to help them organize some of their space so that they have a calm and inviting place to return to after accomplishing a newly organized day. My personal recommendation is to start off in the bedroom. Make the bed every day. Again, messy bed, messy head. With taking a couple of minutes in the morning to perform this 1 to 2 minute activity, we're giving a couple of minutes to help mentally organize and look forward to the day. After focusing on the bed, we're going to work through the closets, dresser drawers. Things should be able to be found the way that they need to be found without needing to turn everything over or rip through things. It doesn't matter the specific placement of the items. This is your loved one's home. This is their space. But the idea is that they should be able to find what they are looking for in an organized fashion so that trying to get ready for the day is not chaotic and disorganized. Next, you're going to want to work with them to move along through the kitchen, a pantry, a living room, bathroom, and then follow it by any other spaces that they may have. The idea here is that your loved one's space should not be a stressor. By taking some time to organize it and talking about some ways to maintain it over the course of time, we can ensure that your loved one has a clean slate to start and finish every single day. When we start a process of living an organized life, it can feel like a massive undertaking up front. And this is why it can definitely be helpful for your loved ones with substance use disorders or in early recovery to have some support during this process. Maybe they don't want you actively involved in doing it with them, and certainly don't want you doing it for them. However, it may be helpful just to go over a couple of tips for how to even get started getting organized. This is where your unconditional love and support is vital and key. Thank you again for staying with us as we continue to commemorate National Recovery Month by talking about how to support a person in your life who you know and love who has a substance use disorder or is in early recovery. If you liked what you saw here, please do click that like and subscribe and ring that bell so you can get notifications for other videos that come up in this series or videos in general on this channel. And again, please do share this video with anyone that you think could benefit from it. From New Jersey Recovery and Wellness, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.